I'm excited to announce the release of PID Toolbox version 0.7 and the new PID Toolbox Pro, which will be available exclusively on Patreon. The links will be in the description here. So going forward, future versions of PTB will be available only on the Patreon site for a very small cost to users. There will be a $3 and $7 tier for regular versus Pro versions. This will be a huge help for ongoing development and the cost of staying up to date with Mac and Windows hardware. Especially for the Pro version, I'll be working hard towards new and exciting things on a regular basis. Now, since PTB started, I had been compiling Mac versions on an old 2013 iMac, and I even updated to Ventura using the Open Core patcher, but eventually it just became painfully slow, and so I had to upgrade. I recently purchased the new Mac M-Series laptop, and I came to realize that there are, in fact, new versions of MATLAB. That's the software that I programmed PTB on. And these new versions are specifically developed for the new M-Series silicone processors. And what's amazing is it makes the running of this program extremely fast. So this is really exciting, and I wouldn't have learned this without moving towards new hardware. This means that new compiled versions of PTB will also be fast, and the new releases will include two options for different Mac users. One for the old Mac users and one for new M-Series silicone users. So anybody with the M1, M2, or M3 processor. So this is going to be a must-have upgrade for new Mac users for sure. I'm also excited to say that both Mac and Windows versions are compiled from the latest MATLAB 2024. I want to make one thing really clear here as well. The software is not subscription-based. That is, you can simply join, grab the software, and just cancel, and it's good to go. So the software will work as it always did. But I want to encourage you to stay. That's why I have this, right? So if you want to join and stay, I really appreciate it. But you don't have to. Let me also say that the latest version of PID Toolbox that's sitting on GitHub still works as well. So there's no reason to join if you're happy with the way things are going. The original PID Toolbox on GitHub will work for a long time yet. But this is the direction that I'm moving. And I want to give people who are willing to contribute a little bit the best that I have to offer. And that's what this is about. So I'm going to give a brief overview of some of the new changes and bug fixes and improvements of PTB version 0.7. First of all, PID Toolbox 0.7 is Betaflight 4.5 ready. This means that you no longer have to select a debug mode like gyro scaled in order to see the pre-filtered gyro. PID Toolbox has options to plot motor RPM and uses RPM in various features in PTB Pro. The next most striking thing is the new dark color scheme. So both PTB and PTB Pro have options to use the traditional light color or dark color themes, and the dark theme makes plotted lines really clear to see. In addition to the new color schemes, I've removed the clutter from unused taskbar items that were traditionally just a part of the default figure window options of MATLAB, but they didn't really serve any practical purpose in PTB and often led to user confusion. So you may not even notice this, but if you look closely, you'll see it's a much cleaner look. I've also restructured the plotting checkboxes from the top position to the left side of the log viewer window. So this gives more vertical space for the traces, as well more room to add new things to plot as we utilize more of what Betaflight 4.5 and onward has to offer. Okay, so with version 0.7, you also no longer need to select which type of log file you are loading. You just simply open the log file and PTB detects the type of firmware and makes the adjustments accordingly. The log file type will be shown in the upper right corner of the log viewer, so whichever log file you select to plot, it'll show you where it's coming from. The log viewer also allows you to plot RPM alongside the commanded motor signals in the same plot. So this is very helpful for detecting things like ESC desync issues. You'll also notice that the PID slider tool was moved to the log viewer window for quick access. This tool is also improved. There's now a drop down that sets the default starting PID values for different firmwares, plus a handy reset button. Okay, there have also been some improvements to the spectral analyzer. So you'll see there now that we've added P-term, F-term, and motor sigs as parameters that can be processed by the analyzer. You'll also notice that the motor sigs automatically appear in a single expanded panel. This is because the parameter doesn't have roll, pitch, or yaw configuration, right? So that's why we plot them on a separate independent panel. There's also a small change to the delay drop-down. To add to this, filter delay and set point to gyro delay are much improved. Filter delay now gives more precision than it used to, even without requiring high logging rates. And the frequency by time spectrogram is also improved so that it displays the full spectrum available. So previously, this plot was always fixed to not exceed 1000 Hertz. So even if you were sampling at 3200 Hertz for like a BMI gyro or even 4000 Hertz, now you'll see that full spectrum plotted in the frequency by time spectrogram. There are also a lot of bug fixes from earlier versions, more than I can describe here. So if you had some issues with the previous version, most of that should be fixed now. That said, if you see new issues or anything you'd like improved, I welcome your comments. Now I want to talk about PTB Pro and the future of PID Toolbox. So I really struggled for a long time on whether to move PID Toolbox to a JavaScript program. But I've since decided that PTB should stay in the MATLAB environment, in part because after all I have about 20 years experience in MATLAB, and it allows me to push fast development that would otherwise be painfully slow in other environments that I'm less familiar with. And it is what makes PTB unique in this space to begin with. So PTB Pro will contain the core of development going forward. The regular PTB version will always contain the main tools that everyone's used to, but PID Toolbox Pro is where the development will grow. So what is currently unique about PTB Pro? So first of all, the Pro version has a sophisticated filter simulator. This simulator allows you to analyze filters in a way most people have never seen. It's an incredible tool for learning about filters, but it's also a great tool to make decisions about how to optimize filters. You can see the effect of various low pass and notch filter settings on noise attenuation and filter delay in milliseconds, and how that delay shifts the P and D in degrees at various frequencies. You can assess the cost-benefit analysis of specific parameters, including filter Q, the effect of the number of motors on RPM filter delay, and specifically how much attenuation in decibels various filter strategies would give you. There is also a signal generator there that you can apply your filters on and see specifically how it will shape the signal across frequency. I'll have a lot more to say about this tool in a future video, but for now, you can try it yourself in PTB Pro, and I'm sure that you'll find it pretty eye-opening, and it should help you understand filter tuning in a much better way. Okay, the Pro version also has a new test signal tool, which is kind of a work in progress at this point, but you'll see this tool on the main log viewer page. The tool basically allows you to assess the effect of filters offline. So the idea here is you could take an existing log file, for example, and apply different filters to the pre-filtered gyro than the filters that you applied through Betaflight. And then you could assess how that's working offline. In other words, you could test various filter strategies offline by applying different filters and assessing real-time filter delay without testing and retesting in the field. Now currently this option only allows the application of low-pass filters like the PT series and biquad filters. But with RPM being now logged all the time in Betaflight 4.5, the goal here is to also be able to apply RPM filters and look at the results of those filter strategies offline. And another main addition to PTB Pro is in the frequency by time spectrogram. You can now plot the motor RPM in Hertz, which is essentially the center frequency of the notches that are used during RPM filtering. So each of these little lines in here, if you look through here, you'll see this line going along and it comes up, and then you see it separates. One goes here, one goes there. They're splitting apart in various ways. Each of these is generated by each of the four motors. So one of these is for one of the motors, one is for a different motor. So what you're looking at here now with this trace, this is motor number 1, the RPM in Hertz. In other words, it's the center frequency of the notch for that RPM filter. And what's really neat here is you can see that band that you see up here below it, that's caused by the vibration obviously from this motor. So that's motor 1. If I plot motor 2, you can see that it takes a different route. So motor 2 is responsible for this little vibration tracking along there, and you can see that different here, right? Motor 3, of course, is this blue color, and you can see motor 4 is accounting for that one. So this is really neat, right? You can see which and how much vibration is associated with which motor. That's pretty wild. So I'll have more to say about this in future videos, but for now, if you want to try this out, head on over to my Patreon site. Link is in the description, and give either version a try.